You see, my beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest forms of heartbreak in this world comes when you chase after people who were never meant to be the solution to your pain. And so you give your heart away piece by piece, hoping that someone somewhere will finally hold it gently. But how often do we end up disappointed? How many tears have we shed for people who didn't care, for friendships that faded, for promises that were broken, for love that turned into silence? The reality is, we're living in a time where people are constantly running after validation, popularity, companionship, attention, likes, comments, followers, praise. And sadly, many of us are so busy running after people that we forget the one who created those people. We forget Allah. We place so much importance on who called us, who ignored us, who appreciated us, who didn't reply, who walked away, and we allow their actions to determine our worth. But how strange is it, my brothers and sisters, that we tie our self-worth to the creation when our true value is only with the Creator. Stop chasing people, return to Allah. There comes a point in every person's life when they begin to feel abandoned, overlooked, or perhaps even invisible. That moment when your heart begins to wonder, why am I not enough for the people I care about? Why do they keep leaving? Why do they not appreciate what I bring into their lives? And in that painful silence, when there are no comforting words and no warm shoulders to lean on, many begin chasing the love, the validation, and the attention of people who were never meant to be the answer to that void. But let's pause for a moment and reflect deeply. Who is it that created you in the first place? Who was there when you were in your mother's womb, being formed from a mere drop of fluid into a complete, perfect human being? Who was there when nobody else knew you existed? It was your Maker. It was Allah. The one who brought you into existence with His will and mercy. The one who gave you the heart you now feel is broken. The one who gave you the emotions, the soul, the breath. So how can you believe even for a second that the one who gave you everything would ever abandon you? He who is Al-Wadud, the most loving, He who is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. He who continues to provide for you even when you forget Him, even when you sin, even when you disobey. He still wakes you up every morning. He still gives you fresh air to breathe. He still surrounds you with blessings you didn't even ask for. Is that someone who abandons you? We live in a time where people are constantly trying to gain the approval of others. Social media has made it even worse. You find people living their lives based on how many likes they get, how many people viewed their story, how many commented on their photo. And if they don't get that response, suddenly they feel less worthy, less important, less loved. But do you think your value lies in how many people approve of you? Do you believe that the essence of your soul depends on whether people clap for you or not? The reality is that when you seek the approval of people above the approval of your Lord, you lose something far greater than attention. You lose light. The light that comes from knowing that your worth is tied to the Creator, not the creation. The light that comes from being sincere in your worship, in your character, in your intentions without needing the applause of the world. When you constantly seek praise and validation from people, you are putting your heart in the hands of those who have no control over their own hearts. Today they love you, tomorrow they ignore you. Today they support you, tomorrow they replace you. That's the nature of human beings. We are weak, inconsistent, emotional, but Allah is not like that. He is constant, He is steady. He is always there. And when you shift your gaze from the people around you to the one above you, your heart begins to heal in ways you didn't even know it needed healing. So many people fall into the trap of living their lives to please others, constantly worried about what others will say, how others will react, what others will think. You will never be able to please everyone. Even the prophets with their beautiful character and truth were hated by some. Even those chosen by Allah were rejected by their own people. So who are we to expect that everyone will like us, accept us, support us? If that becomes the goal, we will exhaust ourselves trying to meet the impossible. But when your goal is to please Allah, when your intention is pure and sincere, you will find contentment even if the whole world misunderstands you. Sometimes Allah removes people from your life not to hurt you but to protect you. You may be begging for someone to stay, crying over someone who walked away, desperate for someone to notice you. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, may have taken them away because they were a distraction from your path to Him. He knows what your heart needs. He knows what your soul is yearning for. And perhaps the people you chased were never going to lead you toward peace. but away from it. So He, in His mercy, removes them so that you finally look upwards and say, Ya Allah, I have no one but you. And what a powerful moment that is. Because when you finally admit that you are helpless without Him, when you finally realize that no one can fill the emptiness inside you except Him, when you finally turn to Him with a broken heart and sincere tears, that is when He draws you closer. That is when He places tranquility in your heart that no human being can give you. That is when He strengthens you and shows you that He has always been enough. One of the most beautiful lessons from the life of Prophet Yusuf is how he was abandoned by his own brothers, thrown into a well, sold as a slave, wrongly accused and imprisoned. So many people failed him. So many turned against him. But never once did his Lord abandon him. And when the time was right, Allah raised him from the darkness of a prison to the palace of a king. And not because he chased anyone, not because he tried to earn their approval, but because he remained steadfast in his connection with Allah, because he knew that the one who never leaves is more deserving of his trust than the ones who walked away. If only we could internalize this lesson. If only we could truly understand that our honor, our dignity, our purpose does not lie in whether or not people stay. It lies in whether or not we stay connected to the one who made us. The one who knows your worth even when the world fails to see it. The one who listens to your silent prayers. The one who watches over you when you are alone and scared and confused. The one who waits for you to return even after you've wandered far. People may write you off. People may judge you for your past. People may never forgive you. But Allah, He never stops loving you. He never stops giving you chances. He never says, you've sinned too much for me to forgive. Instead, He says, oh my servant, if you come to me with sins as heavy as the earth, I will come to you with forgiveness just as vast. When you truly reflect on this, your heart will begin to detach from the illusions of this world. You will stop feeling desperate for people to acknowledge you. You will stop feeling broken when someone ignores your message or forgets your birthday or fails to include you in their plans. You will no longer measure your value based on human behavior. You will begin to live for something far greater, something eternal. You will live for the pleasure of the one who never disappoints. It's not easy. The heart naturally craves love and connection. Allah made us that way. But He also gave us guidance. He showed us how to protect our hearts from unnecessary pain. He taught us that when we love, we must love in moderation. That when we depend, we must never depend fully on anyone except Him. That when we hope, we must place the greatest portion of our hope in the one who controls all outcomes. And that is the balance of faith. To live among people, to love them, to serve them, but never to become a slave to their opinions. The moment you stop chasing people and start chasing your purpose, your entire life begins to change. The way you walk changes, the way you speak changes, your priorities shift. You begin to live with dignity because you know you're being watched by the one who sees all things. You begin to speak with sincerity because you care more about truth than popularity. You start making decisions that bring you closer to Allah, even if they take you further from the crowd. And when people see this light in you, something amazing happens. The right people begin to gravitate toward you, not because you're trying to impress them, but because the sincerity of your connection with Allah reflects in everything you do. Your presence becomes soothing, your speech becomes gentle, your actions carry a purpose. And those who are guided will recognize that light and be drawn to it. You no longer need to beg for friendship or love. You become someone who attracts hearts simply by being genuine in your devotion to your Lord. There is a certain peace that only comes when you are okay with being alone, if it means being with Allah. When you sit in sujood and let your tears fall, knowing that no one sees them but the one who truly matters. When you raise your hands in the darkness of the night and say, Ya Allah, I am tired, I am broken, I feel like no one understands, but I know you do. And that is enough for me. That moment is worth more than 1,000 words of praise from people. That is when you truly begin to heal. That is when your heart begins to remember what it was created for. It is one of the greatest emotional struggles of this age that people tie their value to, who accepts them and who rejects them. They believe that their worth is determined by how many people approve of them, how many show up for them, how many reciprocate their feelings, or how many choose them. The danger in this mindset is that it puts your self-worth into the hands of people who are themselves in need, people who have no control over their own hearts, people who may themselves be lost and unsure. But when you understand that your value comes not from who chooses you, but from the one who created you, you begin to walk with a different sense of purpose. You begin to realize that even if the entire world ignores you, belittles you, or abandons you, you are still honored because your origin is noble. Your soul was breathed into you by your Creator Himself. You were not created by mistake. You are not some random accident. You are not just another face in the crowd. You were created with intention, with design, with purpose. And the one who created you is the King of all kings. That fact alone elevates you far beyond anything the world can ever give. Many people fall into despair because they keep comparing themselves to others. They believe that someone else is more lovable, more successful, more worthy because they received what they were denied. But that's because they've forgotten that life is not a race to earn human applause. Life is a journey back to the one who fashioned you in the best of forms. When you define yourself based on other people's opinions, your self-worth begins to fluctuate. One day you feel amazing because someone praised you. The next day you feel broken because someone criticized or ignored you. But when your value is anchored in your Creator, it doesn't move. It is steady. It is secure because your worth is not conditional. It is not up for debate. It was declared by the one who never changes. There are times when the people you love the most won't choose you. They might walk away. They might replace you. They might ignore the loyalty you gave them. And that hurts. It hurts because you gave them a piece of your heart. But what's more dangerous is allowing that pain to make you question your own value. Just because they didn't see your worth doesn't mean it wasn't there. Just because they couldn't love you the way you deserved doesn't mean you are unlovable. Sometimes Allah allows rejection to protect your dignity. Sometimes He allows you to be overlooked so you can be redirected to a path that's cleaner, safer, and more aligned with your purpose. Because if your worth was truly tied to who chose you, then imagine what would happen if everyone walked away. You'd collapse. But if your worth is tied to the one who is always with you, then even when people leave, you remain whole. Allah reminds us in the Quran that He does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. So when you lose people you thought you couldn't live without, remember that your Lord knew you could survive without them. In fact, not only survive but grow stronger, wiser, and more connected to Him. Sometimes people are removed from your life not because you did something wrong, but because your connection with them was becoming more powerful than your connection with Allah. And so He pulls them away, not to punish you, but to realign your heart, because hearts that are distracted cannot fully receive divine peace. Hearts that are attached too tightly to creation will eventually be broken, but hearts that surrender to their Creator are always healed. Have you ever wondered why the people you chase so desperately are the ones who seem to drift away the fastest? It's because the more you chase people, the more you send the message that you've forgotten who truly sustains relationships. The more you beg for someone's presence, the more you place them on a pedestal that was never meant for them. And so Allah removes them. Not because He wants to break your heart, but because He wants to rebuild it in a way that is indestructible. He wants you to learn that the only one worth chasing is Him. And once you return to Him, He will bring into your life those who are meant for you, not those who use you, not those who confuse you, but those who help you draw closer to Him. It is a pattern in life that sometimes you will be tested by detachment. A friend you thought would be there forever suddenly grows distant. A family member you trusted begins to misunderstand you. Someone you admired disappoints you. These moments are painful but also deeply educational. They teach you that no matter how sincere or loyal you are people, they are temporary, they are flawed, they are forgetful. But Allah is perfect. He is eternal. He never forgets. He never disappoints. And when you turn to Him with sincerity, He gives you more than you expected in ways you never imagined. Don't underestimate the power of losing the wrong people. Sometimes your greatest growth will come right after your deepest heartbreak, because heartbreak strips you of illusions. It forces you to confront your dependency. It teaches you to recenter your priorities. It shows you that the love you need most is not from someone else, it's from the one who made your heart beat in the first place. The moment you realize this, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop trying to convince people to stay. Instead, you focus on becoming the kind of person who is content with whatever Allah decrees. Whether people stay or go, whether you are praised or criticized, whether you are seen or overlooked, you remain grounded in your relationship with your Lord. You see, real strength is not in how many people love you. Real strength is in how much you can love Allah even when everything else is taken from you. Real success is not in being the most admired, the most followed, or the most accepted. Real success is in being the most sincere in your worship, the most patient in your trials, the most grateful in your blessings. And that success doesn't require anyone else's validation. It doesn't depend on someone choosing you. It depends on you choosing Allah again and again, especially when the world makes it hard. There are people who spend years of their life trying to win someone's approval. They change their personality, they lower their standards, they compromise their values, all in hopes that someone will love them back. And sometimes, even after all of that, they still get rejected. Why? Because hearts are in the hands of Allah. And no matter how much you try, you can never control someone else's heart. So why waste your energy trying to earn something that only Allah can give? Why not use that energy to improve your character, to strengthen your connection with your Lord, to grow into someone who is pleasing to Allah? When you do that, He will bring the right people into your life. People whose hearts are guided, people who are sincere, people who will appreciate you for who you truly are. Sometimes the loneliest moments in life are the most sacred, because that's when you truly get to know yourself. That's when you discover who you are, without the noise, without the opinions, without the constant distractions. And that's when you begin to realize that you are enough, not because of how others see you, but because Allah sees you and He never makes mistakes. Your existence is not in vain. Your soul was honored by the one who shaped it. Your journey matters. And even when others walk away, Allah walks with you. Even when no one checks on you, the angels record every breath, every tear, every prayer. What a beautiful truth it is that Allah doesn't need you to be perfect. He doesn't need you to have it all figured out. He just wants you to come back to Him. No matter how far you've gone, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how shattered your heart feels, He is always ready to receive you. And He never says, you are too broken to be loved. He says, oh, my servant, if you come to me walking, I will come to you running. Who else in your life loves you like that? Who else forgives like that? Who else sees every flaw and still offers endless mercy? The people who walked away from you were never in control. The ones who rejected you were not your providers. The ones who ignored you were not the ones who wrote your destiny. So don't let them define how you see yourself. Let the words of your Creator define you. He says you were created in the best of forms. He says His mercy encompasses all things. He says He is near and He never breaks His promise. When you anchor your heart to that reality, nothing else can shake you. So the next time you feel unloved, unwanted, or abandoned, remind yourself your value isn't in who chooses you. It's in who created you, and He is still choosing you. Every day that you wake up is proof that He hasn't given up on you. Every prayer you are able to make is a sign that the door is still open. Every test you face is a reminder that He wants you to turn back. Because when you return to Him, you'll find everything you were looking for in people. You'll find peace, you'll find acceptance, you'll find unconditional love. Not because people gave it, but because Allah always had it waiting for you. Many people walk around feeling empty, burdened by an ache they cannot describe, searching for something they can't quite name. They think the problem lies in not having enough wealth, not finding the right spouse, not achieving recognition, or not being where they thought they'd be in life by now. But the truth is, the heart doesn't feel empty because it lacks worldly accomplishments. The heart feels empty because it is disconnected from its source. The heart was created to know its maker, to remember Him, to love Him, and to return to Him. When that connection is lost or weakened, no amount of worldly gain will be able to fill the void. You can surround yourself with luxuries, with applause, with admiration from others, and still feel completely broken inside, because nothing in creation can do what only the Creator was meant to do. Sometimes we chase the wrong things for years and still wonder why we feel so lost. It's not because we're missing something external, it's because we've lost sight of the internal. We've busied our minds so much with social media, with entertainment, with people's opinions, with distractions upon distractions, that we no longer hear the voice of our soul crying out for its Lord. When the soul is ignored, the body may be alive, but the heart is spiritually suffocating. And the strangest part is we know deep down that the world cannot offer us lasting peace, but we keep going back to it, hoping maybe this time it will. Maybe this job, maybe this person, maybe this lifestyle, maybe this achievement will finally make us feel whole. But every time we attain it, it fades quickly and the hunger returns more painful than before. It is not that we are empty. It is that we are distracted. We have confused stimulation for fulfillment. We've confused popularity for value. We've confused noise for meaning. And in that confusion, the heart remains unsettled. Allah created your heart with a specific design that it only finds rest when it is connected to Him. That is why you can be in the middle of a storm and still feel peace if your heart is with Him. And that's also why you can be in a palace surrounded by luxury and still feel like you're drowning in anxiety if your heart is disconnected from Him. The one who remembers Allah consistently is never truly alone. The one who turns to Him regularly is never truly lost. Because remembrance anchors the soul. It brings light into darkness. It breathes life into a dying heart. It realigns what the world tries to distort. Some people say, I feel like there's a hole inside me, and they try to fill it with friends, attention, food, travel, money, or pleasure. And while those things may bring temporary relief, the hole remains. Because the hole was never meant to be filled by creation, it was meant to be filled by the Creator. Just like you can't feed the body with words, you can't feed the soul with material things. The soul has its own nourishment: prayer, remembrance, Quran, repentance, sincerity, gratitude. When the soul receives its nourishment, life begins to change. The same struggles still exist, but they no longer consume you. The same tests may remain, but you begin to handle them with a new strength, a strength that is not yours, but comes from the one who is always near. Many people don't realize how distracted they are until silence forces them to face themselves. When they put their phones down, when they sit alone, when they no longer have a crowd around them, suddenly they feel overwhelmed. They don't know what to do with the emptiness. But that emptiness is not the problem. It's a symptom. It's the soul telling you, I need to return to the one who created me. If we spent as much time on our connection with Allah as we spend trying to impress people who might not even care about us, imagine how different our lives would be. Imagine the peace, the clarity, the barakah. But the challenge is that we have allowed ourselves to become addicted to distraction. The constant scrolling, the constant comparing, the constant chasing, it never ends. And all the while the heart quietly suffers. But the good news is it's never too late to turn back. The moment you remember Allah sincerely, the moment you make a genuine effort to return, the healing begins. What you lost in life may have hurt you deeply. Maybe it was a person, maybe it was an opportunity, maybe it was a dream you held onto for years. And when it slipped from your hands, you felt like you lost a part of yourself. But sometimes what you lost was never meant to stay. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't cruelty. It was mercy. You see, not everything that shines is a blessing. Some things we beg for are actually distractions in disguise. They take us away from who we're supposed to be. They cloud our judgment. They steal our focus. And so Allah, in His wisdom, removes them not to hurt us, but to protect us from ourselves, to give us what we actually need instead of what we were blindly chasing. Sometimes you lose what you love most because Allah wants you to love Him more. Sometimes a door is closed not because you were unworthy, but because the path behind that door would have harmed you. We cry over what we lost, but we don't always see what we were saved from. We question the delay, but we don't understand the danger that was hidden in what we were so eager to have. Every loss, every unanswered prayer, every detour, every sudden change, it all fits into a divine plan, one that is based on mercy even when it looks like hardship, one that is based on love even when it feels like heartbreak. When you lose something or someone and feel like your world is collapsing, ask yourself, was I depending on this more than I was depending on Allah? Was my heart attached to this thing so deeply that I forgot who is truly in control? Sometimes the pain of loss is not just about the absence, it's about the reminder that nothing in this world is guaranteed, that everything we cling to can vanish in a moment, and that the only true constant is Allah. The more you understand that, the more resilient you become. Not cold, not numb, but resilient in a way that your faith is not shaken by the tides of life. There are moments when you will feel abandoned, but even in abandonment, there is divine wisdom. Sometimes Allah allows people to walk away because their presence was slowing your growth. Sometimes you don't realize how much someone was distracting you from your mission until they're gone. And while it hurts, that absence creates space. Space for clarity, space for reflection, space to rebuild yourself with stronger foundations. You begin to see what matters and what never really did. You begin to prioritize your connection with Allah over the noise of pleasing others. And in that shift, you begin to transform. What you lost may have brought you to your knees, but that's exactly where you needed to be. Because from that position of humility, you can rise in ways you never thought possible. Allah doesn't break you to destroy you. He breaks you to rebuild you stronger, wiser, and closer to Him. There are blessings that come wrapped in pain. There is light hidden in darkness. But you only see it when you look with the eyes of faith. When you trust that what was taken wasn't meant to harm you, but to teach you, to guide you, to realign your heart. We often think that losing something means we are being deprived. But sometimes losing is the first step to gaining something better. Sometimes the delay is not a denial, it's preparation. Sometimes the closed door is not rejection, it's redirection. And the more you trust in your Lord, the more you begin to see the beauty in the apparent chaos. You begin to understand that He never takes without giving something greater in return. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the same form you expected, but always in the way that your soul needs most. When your heart is heavy with loss, don't rush to fill the void with distractions. Sit with the pain, feel it, reflect on it, and then pour it out to the one who understands even the words you cannot say. There is no pain that He ignores. There is no tear that goes unnoticed. There is no heart that turns to Him that is ever left in despair. And as you begin to heal, you'll notice something powerful. What you thought you needed was only a means, not the end. The true need was always Him. The true goal was always nearness to Him. And the journey of loss brought you closer to that reality. When people see you smiling again, they may think you've moved on. But only you will know that it wasn't moving on, it was moving upward. It was learning to rise with faith. It was learning that the strength you prayed for didn't come by avoiding pain, but by enduring it with trust. It was discovering that your soul is stronger when it is held by its Creator. It was finding out that even in the darkest moments, there was light guiding you home. A light that was always there, you just had to look past the distraction to see it. So remember this. Your emptiness is not permanent. It is not a sign that you are broken beyond repair. It is a sign that you are being invited back to the one who made you. Back to the one who loves you beyond measure. Back to the one who fills hearts, not with fleeting pleasure, but with lasting peace. And what you lost, it wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. It was part of a divine plan to bring you back to what you truly need. And once you embrace that, you realize that sometimes losing the world is the beginning of finding your soul. So stop chasing people, return to Allah, and you realize the one you needed most was never Thamit, was Him all along.